citizens, right? Let's be better citizens. Let's at least, okay, take the emotion out and say, okay, you have opposing views, that's fine. Let me know. Please share with me how you arrived at your position on these things. What sort of information, what sort of experiences have you had? And I'd like to share mine. And by doing that, we're going to, and I've seen this, I don't know, if it's happened once in my life, it's happened 1,000 times, where people who have these very different views can come together and see things on a much more level playing field, that they're actually a lot closer in their thinking than they ever would have thought when they're standing at each other with placards on opposite sides of the streets and and they're screaming at each other, right? So today's show is I show the different it's important to ferret out the truth here. So you have to go and seek the truth. Okay, there's multiple information channels out there, and they all have, because the actual factual news, the who, the what, the where, and the when, only takes a very small amount of each day to report. Then they fill the rest of it with prediction and opinion, and that's where all the bias and spin, or the vast majority of it, come in. So in the big news over the last couple of days, the coronavirus continues to escalate around the world. And so let's just go through the headlines here. So Huffington Post, which is kind of a more liberal, left-leaning information site, their main headline says, Bernie and Biden cancel rallies. Okay, so the Democrats are going to cancel a fair number of these rallies because with the coronavirus, having people in close proximity to each other is just going to accelerate the infection of other people. And oh, by the way, today is another Super Tuesday, so people are going to the polls in the primaries for both parties, mostly for the Democrats, but for both parties to determine who's going to be the next nominees. Presumptively, it'll be Mr. Trump from the Republican Party, and then whether it'll be Mr. Biden or Mr. Sanders from the Democratic Party, well, that mostly remains to be seen. But anyway, and so then against CNN, which again is a modestly left-leaning website, they are canceling they are reporting that both Democratic campaigns are going to limit the rallies that they have because of the concern over the safety and health of the people that might attend them. As of a couple of days ago, Mr. Trump kept saying, I don't care about that, coronavirus doesn't exist, and we're going to keep having rallies on the Republican side. So we'll see whether he stays with that. I strongly suspect that that bravado is going to evaporate, and he also will cut back mightily on the rallies that he has. Also then NPR, which is fairly good about reporting things without bias for the most part, I found. Their headline is Sanders Biden cancel Ohio rallies amid coronavirus concerns. So Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden have canceled their respective rallies tonight in Cleveland, Ohio, and the campaigns are citing public health concerns. Also today, so the primaries are going on. This coronavirus thing continues to ramp up here and around the world. Actually, in Italy today, the government of Italy announced that they're going to isolate the entire country. So they have basically told everyone that they need to take these God, I'm sorry. There's a word, quarantine. Everyone should basically self-quarantine in the entire country for the next period of days while they try to figure out how to minimize this in northern Italy, and at the last report, they had about a 5% fatality rate on this. So they had a few hundred fatalities out of some thousands of infections. So Italy normally would have a fairly good healthcare system. So this is a concern, and again, why the World Health Organization, WHO, they have pegged the fatality rate on this disease at roughly 3.5%, and it seems to be holding on a global scale. Pockets lower, pockets higher, and some of it has to do with the age of people that get infected. For example, in Washington State, there was a home for elderly, and there was an infection swept through there, and because it was a home for the elderly, and the elderly appear to be fairly susceptible to this, the death rate actually in Washington State was quite high because of the pocket where this infection occurred. Other places, youthful people generally seem to be mostly immune, although not entirely. There's here in the state of Wisconsin, there's a woman, my wife was just telling me, she's a woman apparently 32 years old in good health, and got the coronavirus through contact through an international traveler, and she is in the hospital under a critical condition. So, hoping that she pulls through. But so this is a very, it can be a very, very virulent, aggressive disease. So the older you are for whatever reason, then you have some, pre-existing condition where your immune system is weakened, so diabetes and some other conditions. And then just some people, they're just, it is what it is. And like in northern Italy, maybe there's something about the Italians that, their DNA or something is somewhat more prone to having a severe outcome with this disease. And then we go to Fox News, and Fox News, their headline, again, right-leaning and generally Trump-supporting, and it talks about stocks roar. So there's been several days where the stock market has been mostly going down because of fears around the coronavirus and what it's going to do to the world economy, because basically it's locking down a lot of manufacturing, and people aren't going to movies and all kinds of stuff. But today, after a huge drop yesterday of over 2,000 points, the stock market reversed, and the Dow was up almost 1,200 points, so recovered maybe 2/3 of what was lost yesterday. And of course, the Fox News, because pro-Trump, they want to kind of minimize the impact of coronavirus and tout that the fact that the stocks are up today. And then Breitbart has a story that basically says, in a White House meeting, again, trying to, you see how the different information streams emphasize the different stories. So on the right-leaning Breitbart, again, mostly supportive of Mr. Trump, they are emphasizing that the White House has, effectively negotiated with some of these health insurance companies to make sure that the coronavirus test is free to people, that the insurance companies are going to pay for it. So, again, this is a positive thing, but you notice how the different information streams do or do not report or emphasize things in a different way. And that's why I encourage you, I can't say it often enough, to look at these different information streams, regardless of your viewpoints, just so you know what you are and are not seeing. Okay? You have to ferret out the truth these days. You have to do it. Be a good citizen. Take a few extra moments and look about you to try to ferret out the truth, okay? The whole truth, the pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against, okay? So that's the highlights for the news today. That's Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. I'm Michael James Ott. I'm your host of the Pro and Con Show. Until the next show, bye for now.